welcome to our Facebook Live today. And today, before we get started, I just want to make sure we're going to give maybe 20, 30 seconds for people to jump in on our broadcast right now, and it's live. So what I wanted to do is just to give you a little heads up. Today, we're actually talking about my story. And something that I've noticed in just talking with a lot of people over the last couple years is what really resonates for a lot of people is literally kind of me personally being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and how as a conventional MD, my journey towards where I am today as an integrative doctor, really focusing on autoimmune disease. What was that journey and what was that story? So that is what we're going to be talking about today. What I'd like to do is just introduce myself. I'm Dr. Maggie Yu. I'm a integrative physician that specializes in autoimmune disease, and we have a program online called Healing Autoimmune Disease Naturally. And if you wanted more information about that, you can go to the website Healing Autoimmune Disease Naturally. So for those of you that are watching that are jumping in right now, thank you. Go ahead and let me know where you're watching from. That gives us an idea of where the demographics are. That would be awesome. That'd be great. Number two is anybody that you feel could benefit from hearing about my story and how I became an integrative MD with autoimmune disease. Go ahead and put their name in the comments section, because immediately that notifies them that we're live right now. And if they can't watch it right now, they can also watch it later. So if you can say where you're from and watching from, and to share it with anyone right now, that'd be great. If you're part of a group, an autoimmune disease group of any kind, and you want to share it to the group or to your personal page, you can do that as well right now. So I wanted to introduce Frankie. She's our functional nutritionist, and she's going to be helping me with this call today, with our Facebook Live today. So I'm going to let Frankie introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frankie, and I am the functional nutritionist on Dr. Maggie's team with Healing Autoimmune Disease Naturally. So working together, we work to be able to provide solutions from a nutrition standpoint as well, because that is such a valuable part of what we do. And so I'm happy to be able to be here on the call with Maggie today to get a little bit of insight on what her journey has been that has led us all here. So much of what we do in working with clients has been informed by Maggie's journey, and that's what you guys want to hear. So that's what we're going to bring to you guys today. So we're going to just go ahead and dive in. And like Maggie said, if you guys want to share where you're watching from, if you want to give us some hearts and some thumbs up, Maggie is getting ready to go into a lot of personal detail about her story, which is a challenge for anyone to do. So go ahead and give her some love, show her some smiles, and we're going to go ahead and jump in. If you guys have questions along the way, feel free to throw them in the comment section below. We may not get to them right at the moment, but hold tight, because we're going to do a Q&A at the end of the live today. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And let's go ahead and jump in. Maggie, I just want to know, how did you get started on this journey with healing your autoimmune disease?
So I would say that this really started when I was 36. And at 36, what I found was that my periods stopped. And I was starting to have insomnia, severe hot flashes, severe anxiety, depression, mood swings, irritability. And no one really knew why. And what I figured out was that, through lab work and seeing my OBGYN, was that I was starting to go into, starting to go into menopause. And that was at the age of 36. And that was my big question as a 36-year-old doctor and a woman. I was kind of like, why am I going into menopause? Why am I in menopause? And no one really knew. The standard response I got was, well, you're just getting older. And I'm like, I'm 36. I'm not like 86 or 56 even, so why was this happening? But there really weren't that many answers. And what I found was that basically the things that I was offered was birth control pills to help me get my periods back and my hormones back in balance, quote unquote. And the other option was antidepressants. I tried both, and it made me sicker, meaner, madder, fatter. And honestly, my symptoms were getting worse. So what I found at the age of 36 was things were so bad that I was getting to the point where I started to have trouble functioning at my job. And so I lost my job. Things led to me losing my job. And I also lost my marriage. And that was really the start of this journey.
And Maggie, what I'm curious about, because we hear this so much from people in the group, is at this point, just in this first year of your journey, how many
Mhm.
specialists and which specialists had you already started engaging? Because this is what we hear so much about,
Yeah.
is this conveyor belt of specialists that we start to collect.
Yeah. And that was my journey as well. So that involved my primary care provider. That involved going to see a gynecologist to figure this out. I also saw a psychiatrist because, of course, it was because I was, going cray cray. And as a doctor myself, I can understand a lot of times when you have somebody with a lot of symptoms, of course, people start blaming it on the anxiety or the depression. And I was guilty of that. I was thinking, was it the anxiety? And even my partner at the time was saying, it's your anxiety, it's your depression. So the psychiatric route was actually a huge part of my journey with that. And that was for me like huge because it totally rocked me as a person. Because I'm an intelligent person. I kick ass, and I work hard. And then to have it impact upon my ability to do that. And then secondly, to be labeled as being anxious or just cuckoo or cray cray was really, it shook my confidence to the core. And so my mindset also crumbled. Not only was I going at the specialist conveyor belt with seeing all these specialists, but my confidence in myself and who I was, I felt like I was losing me. And I felt like my mindset was plummeting. And I didn't even trust myself. Was I really going cray cray or not? That was like a huge thing. Yeah.
What is your first memory of the turning point for yourself? Like, when did you start to say, hey, this is something bigger. This is something that they're missing. What was the first turning point for you?
The turning point was when I went and saw my gynecologist and he's like, you're just getting older, and
And we said, hell no.
I was like, hell no, I'm 36. What are you talking about? And so that was huge for me. So when they said I was getting, and I think the turning point was, honestly, I know as a conventional doctor, the only tools that they were offering me were the only tools I've ever offered. So I only was offering people birth control pills, antidepressants, or some standard limited labs and saying you're fine. Your labs are normal. But I felt like crap and my life was crumbling all around me. Frankie, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice because I wasn't going to live another 6 months or a year in this state with everything crumbling around me. So the turning point was I got to the point where things are so bad, I didn't have a choice but to say, what can I do outside the box here? Because I know as a woman, as a doctor, that conventional medicine is literally failing me because there's something more going on here.
And what was that first step out of the box like for you? Where did you go first?
I saw a naturopathic physician. So for the next couple years, next 18 months or so, I literally, I said, I'm not going to see conventional doctors anymore. I didn't want to see myself anymore. I was like, so I went and I saw naturopathic physicians. I saw acupuncturists. I actually went to tons of conferences. I saw, alternative medicine doctors. I went to functional medicine didn't even exist at that time. So I was going to conferences to learn about all sorts of alternative methods of dealing with hormone problems, sleep problems, anxiety. So the next 18 months was really full immersion. And I spent that time really learning everything that I could that I had never learned in medical school, residency, or as my 10 years as a physician at that time. So it was really, I was forced to go outside the box to look for solutions and answers. And I could, because I'm a physician. I felt like I had the capacity and I invested time, energy, and money. I spent about $100,000 going to do this because literally this was the fight for my life.
Absolutely. And people in the comments below are echoing your story. Christina, who's with us today, she's a previous participant in our program, and she said, yeah, that a pediatrician diagnosed her at 14 as a hypochondriac and sent her to the psychiatrist. This is a story that we hear over and over again.
Yeah. And for me, at 14, my mom thought I was going nuts and my mom wanted me in the nut house. And little did I know, now I look back, that was probably the beginning of when my Hashimoto's was there's a hormonal component. So when my periods really started at the age of 14, 15, that's when my psych symptoms really started. And my mom was like, get her in a nut house, and we treat it as a psychiatric problem. But to be honest, one of the things that I've learned is that this isn't a psychiatric issue, but the problem is having a chronic, complicated disease like autoimmune disease makes us look like we have chronic psychiatric issues, and we even doubt ourselves and think that. So I mean, Christina's point is really great. And that was a part of my journey as well. So the turning point really came for me was when I actually had no choice but to embark on a journey the next 18 months to really learn everything and anything about alternative medicine techniques. And what I discovered was really interesting was that, yeah, there's gazillion things out there and not every one of them apply to someone with autoimmune disease. And by the way, how did I discover I have Hashimoto's was I pushed and pushed and pushed for more and more lab testing. And I was hitting some, blank stares, your labs are fine, Maggie, your labs are fine. Finally, a naturopathic physician, I'm really grateful, tested me for Hashimoto's. And I was definitely Hashimoto's. And that started a lot of bling, bling, bling in my head that there's more to this. Perhaps this is an autoimmune disease. And for those of you who don't know, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease where your immune system identifies your thyroid as a germ and is actively trying to kill it, basically. But but when I went to my conventional doctor with that, it was your thyroid labs are bad enough for you to get thyroid medication. Well, I wasn't even interested in thyroid medication. I was interested in what tools we had to address having an autoimmune disease. My conventional doctors said there's nothing we can do. And in fact, we don't even care that you have an autoimmune disease of the thyroid. Here's some birth control pills and here's some more antidepressants. And I was like, screw that. I was like, I can learn some new tricks. And so I'm going to go the entire alternative route, jumped right in next 18 months. And that's how I discovered of the thousands of things that I learned, there was really 5 areas, I would say 6 areas that I had to master. And through mastering those 6 things, I found out that I was able to reverse tons of my symptoms, if not all of them. And God.
What do you feel like was the first big one that you bit off, right? So we know that there's 6 of these huge issues that we go through in our program, right? That a lot of you guys who have seen our online training, if you haven't already, go ahead over to healingautoimmunediseasenaturally.com and watch our online training. But these 6 crucial pieces that we go through in the training, I'm curious, which one do you feel like was the one that you bit off first?
Okay, so I would say the first, the order is a little backwards. I mean, maybe I'll go through all 5 and then I'll tell you which one I bit off. So here's what I discovered, and this is my 5, I call them linchpins. You have to master these 5 areas to reverse autoimmune disease because that's what I discovered worked for me. So number 1, blood sugar. It's not just whether you have high blood sugar, it's whether you have low blood sugar, and it's the up and down swings of that blood sugar is triggering autoimmune attack like crazy in me. So blood sugar mastery, number 1. Number 2, hormone mastery. My hormones, I mean, I wasn't menstruating. I was in menopause. So what's a 36-year-old woman going to do in menopause? Freaking balance my hormones. So I had to learn what was appropriate testing for hormones, and better yet, what is the techniques that I was never trained on was how to balance hormones. Okay, so number 2. Number 3, food mapping. Which foods were triggering autoimmune attack in me? Number 4 was vitamins and nutrients. What vitamins and nutrients were really low that were crucial in autoimmune disease? And then number 5, infection, hidden thing there, big deal. So I had to master what infections were going on me. I didn't even know they were connected to my autoimmune disease. And then wrapped around all these 5, this whole hand, I could say it's mindset. I had to change my mindset and my story around this for me to actually change. So these are the 5 things I realized you have to master to really reverse autoimmune disease or turn things around. And this is part of the online training. So if you guys haven't seen it, go to Healing Autoimmune Disease Naturally, register for the training. I do talk about that in more depth. So these are the 5 areas I had to master. So your question was, which one did I chew off first?
Yep. Where did you go first?
I'm almost guilty. I feel a little guilty. Are you going to rat me out on that one?
I want to know how a Dr. Pepper drinking doctor that never stopped, that went for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, mastered her blood sugar. Uh-oh, we lost Maggie's sound. Okay, while she's out for a second, grabbing her sound and coming back around, I'm going to go ahead and just talk with you guys in the comment section below. I see a lot of people are joining us today. We have Patricia, who is a recent graduate of our program, coming in from Houston. And like I mentioned earlier, Christina is here, who is a recent graduate actually in the spring from our program. Chris Reinhardt is here with us, who is a current participant in the program, saying, just echoing what Maggie's saying, that mindset is huge, and what we go through in the program as far as mindset is extremely important. We actually, about 2 or 3 months ago, brought on a mindset coach as a part of our program that works with each and every single one of our clients at least 2-3 times throughout the program in order to make sure mindset is addressed, and not only addressed, but that it's something that people are able to take tools away from and continue to work on their autoimmune disease. So that's a great thing to echo. And Maggie, let's test your sound. I'm not hearing you yet. Technology is a wonderful thing until it doesn't work. All right, so while we're waiting, go ahead, and if you haven't already, please share where you're watching from. And if you can, go ahead and send Maggie some hearts and some loves. Maybe that will bring the sound on faster. So go ahead and share where you're watching from, and maybe share also if you've watched the online training, maybe some of the things that really stood out to you in the online training that you would like to share with others that are watching. And if you have somebody that you feel would be that this would be helpful to watch as well, somebody who may be experiencing a very similar story, feel free to share this with them by just typing their name in the chat, in the comments. Nice. Tiffany from South Carolina. Hopefully you're weathering the storm. Elizabeth from Orlando. Patty from Florida. Welcome, welcome, you guys. All right. We're not getting sound back. Let's see. Are in these 5 things. So if you haven't shared, go ahead and place in the comment section where you're from, and then also where you feel like you are in these 5 things that Maggie just described. There you are, Maggie. I hear ya.
You hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so ready. It worked. I'm so not a tech geek. Okay, thanks for hanging in, guys. All right. What was my question was, oh yeah. How did I go from, you said something about Dr. Pepper.
I said, we all want to know how Dr. Maggie Yu went from a Dr. Pepper drinking, never ate, kind of run around doctor for 8, 10, 12 hours of the day to mastering her blood sugar, which has been a huge thing for turning around your autoimmune disease.
It's been a big struggle, and it wasn't until literally the last year or 2 that I really mastered balancing blood sugar, and why I'm such a big advocate of teaching that now. Because I'm so busy and we're on the go. And on top of it, those of us with autoimmune disease, we tend to be caretakers and pleasers. So we give, and give. So I was last on the priority list. So I honestly didn't feed myself regularly at all. I was constantly running on adrenaline, coffee, diet Dr. Pepper. That was my life. I mean, and I had such a strong identity of myself as the producer, the workhorse, that was really everything. It meant everything, even at the detriment of feeding myself. So I found myself eating ginormous dinners and then during the day running on adrenaline. And it's partially this huge idea of self-care. And when I realized that you have to take care of yourself first, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first. I'm a healer. I help heal other people. I'm a mother to my children. I'm a partner, in life with, and I'm an employer. So I have many people in my life that I have to support, but I didn't take to heart the mindset piece that I had to put the oxygen mask on myself first. So I think you were actually really instrumental. I mean, we've been working together several years. And so for me, like learning some hacks and tricks to how to actually make sure I get my breakfast in, easy ways to drink some quality in instead of my Diet Dr. Pepper and my coffee, really helped a lot. So that was huge. I mean, you saw an immediate improvement, as many people did. My mood was huge improvement. My pain was way down as soon as your blood sugar was balanced. I mean, that's why there's so many videos about blood sugar that I make, and I harp on it. And those of you who've been through our program who realize that blood sugar is your linchpin, I would love for you to comment in the comment section and tell people how big of a deal this really is. So for me, there were some techniques that we had to learn, and that's what we teach in this program. Blood sugar mastery around autoimmune disease as a trigger of it is huge. And I'm not just telling you, let our graduates tell you as well. So blood sugar was like, yeah, the biggest linchpin for me, I would say. And so really self-care priority and learning some serious skills around it was what really helped me with that.
Great. And where does and I know that blood sugar, it ties into this, but where do you feel like infection is for you as far as your journey with infection?
I would say that my journey with infection, I had no clue that my chronic UTIs, urinary tract infections, that I would get 6-7 times a year, was even remotely related to my autoimmune disease. I just knew it was ruining my life. I mean, I was starting to be so resistant to so many antibiotics, and it was happening 5-6 times that I ended up in the ER because there were no oral antibiotics that could treat my urine infection anymore, and I had to go in and get IV antibiotics. And you could, like, if you get resistant microbes like that, you can actually, at a certain point, you know, frequent antibiotics kill your gut biome, which was making me worse and worse. And then on top of it, just having to be resistant, it can become quickly a life-threatening infection that can spread to your kidneys and to your body in sepsis. So, you know, so for me, what I didn't realize was how much food mapping had to do with my infection. So here's the deal, is that so many people don't even realize that infection plays a key role in triggering autoimmune disease, but believe it or not, the food was triggering the infection in me. So I figured out for me, like personally, was gluten. Like when I don't eat gluten, like the first 6 months I went gluten-free, I didn't even realize I had 0 infections. That was the first 6 months of my life. I didn't have a urinary tract infection, much less 6 of them, right? So learning to figure out what foods trigger autoimmune attack in me, and then understanding that there's a role in food and your gut barrier and the role of infection in your body was big time. So there's 2 linchpins right there that really tied together for me. Once I mastered food, I no longer got these infections. I got a huge part of my life back. And food clarity was great. I don't have to avoid 50% of the food on the planet. I've never been on an elimination diet, and I never will, because I'm just too busy for that. And on top of it, I'm so outcome oriented and science oriented. I need hard data for it. And to discover that and to be able to use that in my clinical practice has been huge with food mapping.
I love that. And I love how you really point out there's an order to this magic, right? And in that we see so many people coming into our program, maybe from another practitioner that has focused in on the infectious piece so seriously, you know, whether it's Lyme or Epstein-Barr virus or Candida or SIBO, and they come kind of into the program thinking that this is the main focus. And we're very quick to say, wait a minute, we got to back it up here. There's blood sugar issues going on. There's food and mapping going on that we have to get some real data on before we can actually treat adequately and efficiently for infection. So I love that you shared that through your journey.
Well, and Misty just commented, yes to hard data. And that's the thing, is there is such a misunderstanding out there in the conventional and the functional medicine world around food intolerance testing, that for me, there really is a different process that you can do that I call food mapping. We call it food mapping because there is hard data that you can get on food intolerance testing and how to use and implement that data, how to reintroduce foods. That it is data driven and it's scientifically driven, and there's just a lot of misunderstanding out there. What I love is in our Facebook group, if you haven't joined it already, please join it. It's Healing Autoimmune Disease Naturally. Is the Facebook group, and in there I did a video on food mapping and why there's so much misunderstanding out there. Please watch that. If you're on the Dr. Maggie Yu page right now, under the video section, there's also a video there on food mapping. It's really a great watch to understand how we use hard data in our food mapping process.
Mm-hmm. It is a huge pivotal turning point, and that's really kind of, you know, just to point to where the nutrition piece comes in. I mean, making these changes in diet is difficult. It's a challenge for a lot of people. And so it's part of the reason that nutrition is such a crucial part of the program and a crucial part of making these shifts in your diet, because it takes support, right? It takes a team of people around you that with accountability. How often do we have people in the program saying, I'm going to be 100% gluten-free this week, and I'm going to stick to it because I'm not going to let 30 people know that I slipped up on it. So it's the accountability piece is huge.
I mean, some of you guys watching right now, some of the people in the chat right now are graduates, and you know who I'm talking about here. Is that accountability and support was huge. And how big was that for you in the program? If you can let other people in on that, that'd be great. And then the other hard data piece is hormones.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's just, I mean, I could go on and on about hormones, but for me with hormones was that, first of all, I was, people are telling me I'm in menopause and nobody was really even testing my hormones, right? And what I found as a conventional medicine doc for the first 10 years of my career as a family medicine doctor was that I myself had never been trained, have no clue how to test people's hormones. And when patients would come to me to say, oh, can I check my hormones? Guys, listen to this. These are the typical responses I would give, and these are the responses you got, okay? Which is, oh, it varies all over the month. It's not accurate. Why bother? If you're menstruating, I know your hormones are fine is another one. A third one would be, oh, if you're not menstruating, we already know you're in menopause. There's no reason to check your hormones. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, that is the best answer that they can give based on their training and my training prior to this, but it's utter bullshit.
Because what's the last thing that they want is to be able to do a test, run the data, look at it, and not know how to interpret it, right? That's not what they want.
I mean, I was a conventional doc for that many years. So I thought those were literally what I thought was true. But the truth of the matter was I had zero training on how to actually, what the right hormones to even test were, what the timing to test for them are, it's not even what the numbers are. What is the balance between these hormones? How do they play together? What should hormone balance look like? There is zero training in the conventional world for this. And even if someone says they're a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath, don't necessarily mean they specifically specialize in hormone balance. So that's something that's really important for people to understand. So for me, that's a huge part of what turned me around. Was learning how to balance my hormones. So by the way, 18 months after I embarked on this journey, at the age of 36, by 38, my periods came back. I came out of menopause. And the funny thing was, I went to go back to see some of my doctors and they're like, oh my God, Maggie, you're a medical miracle. I'm like, no, I'm not a medical miracle. It's literally called an autoimmune disease. And something that I'm going to put in as a little gift and piece of information for those of you watching is that I figured out that just because when you have an autoimmune attack against something, for example, like my thyroid, what's the likelihood I'm going to have an autoimmune attack on many other parts of my body? Literally 100%. And my ovaries and adrenals look very much like thyroid. So not only was I having an autoimmune attack against my ovaries, against my thyroid, I had a huge autoimmune attack against my ovaries. And so literally a 5 million pound Godzilla gorilla was attacking my ovaries. That's why my periods stopped. And that's why I looked like I was in menopause. And the reality was when I mastered these 5 areas, which is everything that feeds that autoimmune disease, that 5 million pound gorilla, which is the autoimmune attack in itself. When you actually master those 5 areas, you can get all the attack to go down because he's quieted it down. Every target gets better. My hormones came back from my ovaries because my ovaries weren't dead. They were just being autoimmune attacked to hell. But nobody still to this day understands that concept, that most hormone problems that women and men experience actually is related. Many of that is related to an autoimmune attack, sometimes against the ovaries or your testes.
And I love that a lot of times you say, Maggie, that this is a relationship that we're in, right? This is a relationship with our hormone balance. This is a relationship with our infection that we may be, ebbing and flowing within our body, that this is an ongoing relationship, that we really give people the tools in our program to be able to navigate, not just while they're in our program, but for years to come.
Yeah, imagine this. So here's the thing is, I as a doctor was able to learn these tools and then I had mastery of them. So for the rest of my life, it's not like I'm running to this guru or that guru to get interpretation and a plan. So for me, I understand what is the value in self-mastery of these 5 steps, right? These 6 steps with the mindset included. So for me, that's why, through my, I'm 22 years in practice. So the last 12 years of my career has been focusing on autoimmune disease. My goal always has been is how do we get clients and patients to actually learn the skills of self-mastery? How do you teach them to be the pilot, not the passenger anymore? So, which is why for me, like that's a struggle, but in a clinical setting. And you got 15 minutes, even if you have 45 minutes with a client, even if that happens every 6 weeks, there's no way to actually teach a client the skills it takes to have mastery of all these 6 areas, because there just aren't enough hours in the day or the platform to do it. So for me, this is why we've evolved and grown into our online program, which is why we get crazy outcomes on our online program in just 8 weeks, because we literally is the perfect format with which to teach people how to have mastery over these 5 areas and their mindset on top of it to boot, So you're right. So that's why, there's some people that be like, online coaching doesn't work. Crap. Really? I mean, ask any of our graduates, and those of you graduates that are watching right now, do you guys think online coaching works? And does it work better? And did you get outcomes even faster? And do you have mastery of it so that for the rest of your life, if you come up with if you recheck your hormones, can you go back and look at them and be like, yep, I know what this pattern is. I got a plan around this. I do. I'm not running to another person begging for an interpretation of that test. You guys know how to do this. You're armed and you guys are dangerous. So I love the graduates to chime in on their experience with that. But really, it's mastery of these 5 areas and mindset, which is what our 8-week program is about. And so for me, this is my journey. That's what brought me here. I've come full circle. It is through the biggest pain and suffering of my life and having no choice that I literally went into learning a lot about all the tools and skills that's needed to master autoimmune disease. It's a byproduct of my own suffering. And as a result of trying to, over the next 12 years, master that for my clients, we've evolved from being a clinician in a clinic practice to now completely at 100% online program that's 8 weeks. And the outcomes are even bigger and better because we truly have a platform for mastery, for teaching mastery.
And thank you guys so much, those of you who are commenting below with where you're from and your experience, if you've been a graduate of the program. I think that this is really so much truth as to what your experience was in the program, sharing that. And we really want to encourage you guys at this time, if you have questions for Maggie on her personal journey with autoimmune disease, the floor is open. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about what Maggie's experience has been? And what are things that you would love to find out just to get this inside peek on what a doctor's experience is? I think that the challenge and the turnaround that Maggie has gone through is what makes what we have to offer so valuable, because this is the insider's experience, right? This is what she's experienced and this is what she wants to share. So your questions are welcome, that we are wide open here. I haven't seen any come through. I see you guys sharing a lot about what your experience has been. Christina, thank you for sharing what her clarity around food mapping has been. I saw Susan giving some big hearts when you were talking about hormones. Susan's a recent graduate of the program, and we know that hormones were a huge linchpin in turning her autoimmune disease around. And go ahead. Oh, Patricia's saying online coaching works. It's happening. Yeah. It did work, and it works fast. It's an extremely efficient way of delivering education and also delivering community, which is a huge thing that we offer with a group of people that are experiencing really similar transformations at the same time. So I'm not seeing any questions come through. Maggie, you have anything else you want to share?
Well, no, I mean, mindset, maybe I didn't really go into mindset as much. And I know that a couple people have commented already how important the mindset work in our program has been. So for me, I can tell you right now is that I mentioned a little bit about the autoimmune mindset, and we explored that huge. But what I've seen is a pattern. This is my own work, my own experience, is that people with autoimmune disease, there's a specific way that they think. We're caregivers, we're pleasers. We also work and do a lot. And it's for that exact reason is why we stay sick. And so that story made me sicker, madder, meaner, fatter, and more and more anxious. I mean, that's what was behind me being a Dr. Pepper toting 12, 13 hours a week, busy mother, working, top of my game at work at that point. That's what made me crash. And so for me, a big part of my mindset shift was honestly changing my story about it. I think that my worth as a human being isn't just about my ability to be a workhorse. And that's a big mindset shift, is that we all did it.
We lost Maggie's video. Will you guys go ahead and comment and let me know if you can see
here.
The video?
Yep. My video is still on. Can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Frankie, can you hear me? Can you guys comment if you guys see?
Are you guys still able to hear me?
No.
Go ahead and let me know in the comment section below.
Okay,
we have some great
Frankie,
questions coming in. I see Carol saying that yes, you guys can still hear me. Okay,
so we're gonna keep going.
I'm gonna ask
see you and hear you.
Rachel, who
we can.
Are you guys able to see Maggie and hear Maggie?
Yeah, we're good.
Interesting.
All right, so I'm gonna answer this question.
I can't hear Maggie.
All right.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, guys.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about...
since I can't see Maggie and hear Maggie, I'm going to just go ahead and turn it over to her for closing questions here. We have we do have some questions coming in. Somebody wants to know, how did you actually kick the Dr. Pepper habit?
Okay.
And then I'm going to just turn it over to you because I'm going to let you finish up.
All right, so I was going to finish up my mindset piece here, which was that I realized that my worth is not just as a workhorse, as a caregiver, and as a pleaser to other people, and that I have an intrinsic worth as a person. I'm enough. That was hard. I mean, but I'm enough as I am, not because I produce or work hard, or not because I'm a healer, just I'm enough. That was a big shift for me, and being able to have that, and that I deserve joy, and that I deserve to invest and focus on myself. That was a big mindset shift for me, and that completely turned my autoimmune disease around. That was the beginning, and really still where I am today, of why I've created these outcomes for myself, and why I continue to create these outcomes, help people create those outcomes. And that's really personal, so that's a little difficult to share, but thank you. And then there was a question of how did I kick the Dr. Pepper habit? I literally prioritize and time food. And that's something I schedule food in now to feed myself and nourish myself. How do you expect yourself to be nourished or heal when you don't set time to actually even eat? And back then, I didn't even set time to pee. I tried not to drink water all day so I didn't have to pee, so I could see more patients. And that's 10 years of my life, you know? So for me, like I now schedule time for myself for feeding, for drinking water, for meditation. I even have time, I schedule time for meditation twice a day. So making these, if you don't make the time for it, it'll never happen. So that was a big mindset shift for me, that allowed me to also conquer my blood sugar issues. It's making myself a priority. That's why mindset work is such a huge thing in our program. Del Guerrero, you're the only pretty woman in all of Facebook Live. I don't think that's true, but thank you. Okay, so awesome. Any other questions? Let me scroll through the comments. No other questions. So I hope you guys, this was a very intimate share of me and my story. I hope this gives you an opportunity to know me better and to understand my journey in dealing with my autoimmune disease, and why I do what I do now, and why we have an online program, and why we get such crazy outcomes in just 8 weeks. So for those of you who haven't watched our online training, I'm going to invite you guys to go ahead and jump to healingautoimmunediseasenaturally.com and go ahead and register to watch the training. And that way you get to understand really more about the 5 pillars and the mindset work that we do. And then you can also book a call with us. We're happy to chat. If you want us to help with you working on your autoimmune disease, book a call with us. Happy to chat with you. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Please share this. If this was helpful for you, you think anyone would benefit from it, please share this video. Okay. Thanks a lot. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group, please jump in and join our Facebook group as well. Thank you so much.